Hello, everyone. This is James Song here. Welcome to the TOEFL Show. This is episode 3 of the TOEFL Show. So we will look into another question type in the reading section of the TOEFL test. So let's get started. As you can see on the screen here, we will cover the vocabulary type question. But I just want to let you know in advance. So today is episode 3. So we're covering vocabulary question type, okay? But I just want to let you know, we will read the paragraph 3 in full before we come back to the question type and solve this question type for 2 reasons. First, I don't want next episode to be affected negatively because we don't read the paragraph in full. Next episode, we'll cover paragraph 4. So we need to know all the contents in paragraph 3, just in case it's related, connected, or continuous, because we are covering one single passage in full, okay? And the second reason is that the last question type is a summary question type. And in order to solve the summary question type, we need to know all the information in every paragraph, okay? So I'll read through and then tackle the question. So yeah, let's start reading together, okay? The numbers of deer have fluctuated markedly since the entry of Europeans into Puget Sound country. So this means numbers of deer's population is up and down, fluctuated. Okay, it's not constant. It's not constant. It's not constantly going up. It's not constantly going down. It fluctuates. It's up and down. Okay, markedly should be in your TOEFL vocabulary. Significantly or noticeably. Okay, that's what it means. Since entry of European into the Puget Sound country. So after European came into the Puget Sound, the population of deer has been going up and down, right? Why? What happened? The early explorer and settlers told of abundant deer. So, early explorers said, wow, great. There are so many deers, okay? In early 1800, and yet almost in the same breath. So same breath, it's obviously rhetorical, okay? Literally in the same breath means like, before you make the next breath, within the same breath, okay? So it means like at the same time. Or figuratively, like almost at the same time, like immediately after, or more or less at the same time, okay? Within a very short period of time. That's what in the same breath means. So, more or less at the same time or immediately after, okay? So early explorer says, wow, there are so many deer, but immediately after or almost at the same time, they bemoan the lack of this succulent game animal. So bemoaned here is complaining about. Okay, so they complain about not enough this deer, this succulent, juicy game animal. This game animal referring to the deer, of course. Okay, so first sentence, deer population fluctuated since European came in, and like some people say a lot of deer, but almost at the same time they're complaining about not enough. Okay, famous explorer of North American frontier Lewis and Clark arrived at the mouth of Columbia River on November 14th. So they arrive November 14th. So kind of fall in nearly starved circumstances, maybe migration. They are at lowland and deer deers have not yet migrated to the lowland, maybe, you know. So this is beauty of TOEFL, you know, everything connects and integrates from the previous paragraph, hopefully. They had experienced great difficulty finding game, so there were no deer west of Rockies, and not until 2nd of December. So not until, meaning on the 2nd of December, maybe they caught one. Did they kill their first elk? Elk is slightly different to deer, or biologically type of deer. It's bigger than deer. It's a type of deer, if I may say that. Okay, so elk is a big deer with a very big antlers on it, like horns on it. Okay, right? So bigger deer that look a little bit different to deer, with a very, very big horns, antlers on it. Okay, so in this context, it's a type of deer. All right, so they were starving from November, and come 2nd of December, they killed their first elk or deer. All right, to keep 40 people alive that winter, so probably they were researching there for the whole winter. They consumed approximately 150 elk and 20 deer. So throughout 2 to 3 months from December, let's say December, January, February, you know, around 3 months, they killed 150 elk and 20 deer. All right, so they caught a lot of deer, right? So this means there were lots of deer. Okay, and when game moved out of the lowlands, so game here obviously referring to almost like a pronoun, elk and deer, because elk and deer are a game animal. So when game moved out of the lowlands, see, okay, see, we were right. I was right, right? So these people who are hunting deer and elk, they were in lowlands. Okay, so these deer migrated into the lowlands late fall or early winter, right? So when the game moved out, so migrated back, we know because we read paragraph 2. So they are going back to highlands in spring, right? And when game moved out of the lowlands in early spring, the expedition decided to return east rather than face possible starvation. So they realized no more deer. They're all gone for some reason. There were plenty of them in winter, but come spring, they're all gone, right? And we know the answer from paragraph 2. Okay, so watch previous episode if you haven't done that so far. Okay, so this is not really fundamental fluctuation. Like it's not real core population change, but it's just reminding us, not immigration, sorry, migration. So due to migration of deers, depending on where you are, based on seasons, you know, people may feel that there's a fluctuation in number of deers, but that's not due to any fundamental reason. It's just because of which month of the year it is, based on deer's migration pattern. All right, so that's first reason why people may feel fluctuation in numbers of deers. Later on, in the early years of 19th century, when Fort Vancouver became the headquarters for Hudson Bay's company, deer population continued to fluctuate. All right, so hopefully we get another reason, an example for the fluctuation, right? So let's read on. David Douglas, Scottish botanical explorer of the 1830s. So let's check the dates. Due to migration, it was 1805, right? So this is about 25 years later. Second example. Okay, 1830s. found a disturbing change, fluctuation, okay, in the animal life around the fort during during the period between his first visit in 1825 and his final contact with the fort in 1832. So within 7 years, he noticed the huge change in deer numbers, right? Why? What happened? A recent Douglas biographer states the deer which once picturesquely dotted the meadows around the fort were gone. So within 7 years, so when he arrived in 1925, there were so many deer, and only within 7 years later, they were all gone. Why? Hunted to extermination in order to protect the crops by people. So here we go. We got one. Okay, this is main keywords. All right. So one reason for fluctuation in numbers of deer, especially going down, not back up, going down, is due to people hunting so many deers. Extermination means like, mass murder, or you kill everything in sight. That's extermination, isn't it? Right? So the reason for fluctuation, especially going down in numbers of deer, one of the reason is people hunting deers to extermination in order to protect the crops. So, probably deer was stealing and eating a lot of people's crops, maybe. But, they were there even before European came in. So, but anyway, okay. So that's a comprehension. It was pretty short and sweet, I think. So we understand what happened in paragraph 3. And let's tackle the question type of the vocab question type, okay, in the reading section of the TOEFL test. So I already gave you the answer, right, by reading, but let's revisit. The phrase in the same breath in the passage is close in meaning to. Okay, to be honest, I'm going to talk about 2 strategies and tips to tackle the vocab question, but in reality, practically, there is no magic strategy, right? You have to know the words. Sorry to disappoint you. All right. There's no magic way of solving this question type other than learning a lot of words, learning a lot of vocabulary. Okay. Because first strategy, I'm sorry, to disappoint you, it sounds so obvious, is learn the vocab. Okay. Memorize words. You need to work. Okay. You build up your vocab power. Okay. And the second strategy, there is a strategy, but it only works, partially, like 50% of the time. I'm just, giving you any numbers out there. So it's not a complete strategy. But if you really don't know the words and you are at the test center and you are taking the test, you have to do something, right? And if you don't know the meaning of the words, what you can do or what you should do is try to understand the context and guess the right words to, guess the right answer choice. Okay? So let's try to do that. The early explorer, okay, first sentence says it fluctuated a lot since European came in. Second sentence, the early explorers and settlers told of abundant deer in early 1800s. So early 1800s, early explorers said, wow, there are lots of deer. And yet, almost in the same breath, let's guess, I'm not sure about this expression, bemoaned, complained about the lack of this succulent game animal, right? So it says a lot of deer, but and yet not enough deer at the same time. Okay? I mean, how can you completely guess that? I'm not sure, to be honest. See? Okay? And to joke around a little bit with you guys, this is definitely a strategy, but it's not the perfect strategy. It doesn't work all the time because if you don't understand the meaning of, say, this word or this word, it's not going to work. Okay? And more sadly, if you don't understand these words or one or two of these words, even if let's give you one, even if you understand the context, let's just say, still there's no way to get the answer right because you don't understand these words. Okay, so understanding the context is definitely a strategy, but it's not a complete strategy at all. Far from it. If I just, for the argument's sake, maybe if you understood this word and try to guess, maybe, but maybe not. Okay. So impatiently doesn't make sense whatsoever. Let's put in impatiently in there. The early explorer of settler told of abundant deer in the early 1800s, and yet almost impatient. It just doesn't even make grammatical sense. Okay. Like impatient, subject has to be someone is very impatient. They cannot wait something to happen. That's impatient. So this is easy, no? Got that? Humor. Okay, thank you. Right? It's even worse than impatient. Okay. How can you like humorously complain about the lack of succulent game animal when actually the number fluctuates? Actually, numbers goes up and down. So lots of deer, not enough deer. And what is so funny about that? And you complain humorously? It's just, doesn't make any sense. Continuously, yeah, good, wrong answer choice, right? You do something in the same breath. So as a result, it may continue, the task may continue, but in the same breath doesn't mean the meaning of the same breath is not continuously, okay? Because you do something in the same breath, the result may be, the tasks are being done continuously because you're doing two tasks in the same breath, but that doesn't mean the meaning of in the same breath equals continuously, okay? So in the same breath, as I comprehended when I was reading the passage before, literally you're doing something at the same time or at once, because like you're doing something within the same breath as before, like before your next breath. So you have to do it together, right? Okay, so that's literal definition. And the practical interpretation of in the same breath means more or less, not exactly the same, but more or less you're doing at the same time, or you're doing something immediately after. Okay, so it's so close together, the period. So you're doing something within short period of time. Okay, so it's immediately. Okay, this is the right answer. All right. So let's put in immediately, see whether it makes sense. If you had to guess, the early explorer and settler told of abundant deer in the early 1800s, and yet almost at the same time, immediately after, okay, almost immediately, also bemoan the lack of the succulent game animal. Makes sense, right? So it's like, like one time, one moment, it seems there are lots of deer. Another moment, like within a second, it seems there is no deer, right? So immediately makes sense. Okay, practically at the same time. Okay, so perfect strategy, unfortunately or fortunately, is you have to learn the vocab. You have to build your vocabulary to understand the meaning of these words. Then you will choose the right answer each and every time. Okay, yeah, so that was episode 3 of TOEFL show. We covered the vocabulary question type, and also we comprehend the whole paragraph 3. Okay. Thank you for watching. I hope this helped you. And I'll come back with episode 4 of the TOEFL show very, very soon. See you then. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you, guys. Bye for now.